Hello, everyone, and welcome to a quick episode of Trek Canon. So, today I'm doing a review of Season 3, Episode 7 of Star Trek Picard entitled Dominion. So, now we're going into the home stretch, people. We're going into the last few episodes of this outstanding season of Star Trek Picard. All right, we pick up on the USS Titan. They're hiding in a shipwreck field in the Chintaka system. People will be familiar with the Chintaka system. It's where the Dominion held the system. A siege of AR-558 took place there. And basically, they're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with this conspiracy with the changelings. Now, right off the bat, man, we pick up with an oldie from the past, man, a hit. Seven, she's talking to, somebody on the view screen, man, and when we pan over, we notice that it's Tuvok, man, an older Tuvok, man, Captain Tuvok, looking smooth, man, and Seven and him talking about, what's going on and everything like that. And Seven's trying to fill him out. In the background, the bridge crew is trying to, voice analyze and figure out if there's any discrepancies in in Tuvok's voice pattern. Eventually, Seven ends up referencing a game that they played, right? And I'm like, hold up, that's not the game that they used to play, man. But Tuvok was basically, hey, yeah, and you beat me and la la la, and Seven basically realizes that Tuvok ain't Tuvok, that they got Tuvok somewhere, man, because only Tuvok could know some of the things that this changeling did. So apparently they got Tuvok somewhere, man, and hey, it's going way deeper. So at the time, man, they trying to ping the Titan while they doing this communication, and they cut the thing loose, man, because they like, look, we don't know who we could trust. Everybody we talk to seems to be a changeling or down with this conspiracy. We still got data lore trying to they got a partition and they keep switching back and forth. Look, I keep trying to tell people, if you have malfunctioning data of any kind, you need to stop his body from moving, because that's one person you do not want walking around, especially if they're lore. But man, lore is always awesome, man. Lore always could roast somebody. He comes to, man, start talking about Picard being old, man. Lore roasts people. That's what he does. They kind of had this part in the episode where it reminded me of when Captain Kirk was split in two and he had his evil side and he had his good side, and come to find out that neither of the sides could exist separately. It was a part in this episode that when they was talking about it, it reminded me of that. And I wonder if they are purposely referencing that happenstance in Star Trek, the original series. As they was talking about the changelings and they was getting more into these engineered changelings, I was thinking to myself, well, the founders are experts at genetic manipulation and genetic engineering. Did the changelings, did the founders genetically engineer a new type of changeling? Like, that's well within their capabilities. But anyway, man, they hatched this plan. And when I say hey, the crew of the Titan, they hatched this plan where they like, look, man, we finna capture this Vatic lady. And we gonna have to ask her some questions about all this bad stuff that she's been doing, because she's been doing a lot of bad stuff. We gonna need to ask her, we gonna need to catch her and ask her, why she's been doing all this stuff, man. So they hatched this plan, man, where they executed pretty nicely. They fake battle damage on the Titan. They fake a transmission that they was in battle with this other ship, man. The other ship sent out this transmission saying where the location of the Titan was. So, the Shrike ends up the Shrek, the really big old green spaceship. Anyway, the Shrike ends up there in the Chintaka system around the Titan. And so basically they take a shuttlecraft over and it's a cat and mouse game. They end up, and when I say they, Jack and Ensign LaForge, and I really love the chemistry between Jack and Ensign LaForge. I really love what they're doing with those two characters. But they are running basically through the corridors, man, and doing the force field activation thing, separating and isolating the intruders and everything like that. So they end up catching Vatic, man, but in sick bay. But I get to that. So Jack and Ensign LaForge, they end up being basically trapped as well by inside the safety of a force field in this corridor. But either side of this corridor, outside the force field is, one bad guy each. Now, I was expecting Jack to turn red eye, man, and just go ahead and, just start eliminating people. But apparently that's not something under his control. And kind of, I guess, luckily it is something good. But he ends up dispatching, because let me tell you something. Lore ends up taking over, man, and he starts to take over the security systems, which means now he's dropping the force fields, because you know how Lore is. He don't give a damn about nobody, and LaForge described it perfectly. Lore just cares about chaos. Also, like LaForge, the LaForge sister, Jordy's real life. Well, I say LeVar Burton's real life daughter. She's playing the role well as his sidekick engineer. Now, speaking of Jordy, I love how he begged Data, man, how he just let out his soul, to Lore, hoping to get in touch with Data. And, all while he was talking, man, it just was flashing through my head all the times in the Next Generation where Data wasn't getting one of LaForge's jokes, or them hanging out, as pals, doing some stuff in engineering, or just all of the buddy moments that they had throughout all the seasons of the Next Generation, man, was felt in that moment. Now we go back over to Jack Crusher, man, and Ensign LaForge and the force fields and fail, but now Lore put up a force field in between them, so they have to deal with each one. And like I just said, Jack basically ends up shooting and killing the other guy. So now it's just LaForge and this big dude on the other side. And I'm really happy that they didn't have one of those situations where this little girl was able to defeat this big old dude, right? But it was also really cool because we find out that Jack is able to read minds. He's pulling one of those "what women want" type situation things going on. So he's reading Ensign LaForge's mind. So come to find out that he could transfer, because his eyes lit up red, and then LaForge's eyes lit up red when she was like, "Help me," right? Because she knew she was about to lose this, and he ends up marionetting LaForge, right? And she ends up helping her guiding her to kill this dude, right? Get into safety. She basically don't trust him, because who would? You like, hold up, dude, hold up. Did you just take control of my body, man? I know you saved my life and everything like that, but that's kind of suspect. You take control of my body and making me do all this stuff, man, go through all this fight choreography, man. Well, I know it ain't fight choreography in the actual scene. It's just a straight up fight. But you doing that is a little weird, but Jack's been, on the up and up. He's been wanting to give his life, to save everybody on the ship. So Jack, I really like the character of Jack. I really love this character. I hope that they find a way to keep him in the series. There's talk about him staying in the upcoming show Legacy. Let's get into the real meat and bones of what's up, man. So they end up capturing Vatic, man, and what Vatic don't understand is, because the first person who walks up in a room is Dr. Beverly Crusher. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is Dr. Beverly Crusher, she's full of smiles, she has jokes, she's pretty laid back. But I've always said, Dr. Crusher is a G. Do not test Beverly Crusher. Don't test her. She will turn straight. Look, she turned different. We'll just say it that way. Beverly will turn different on you. You know what I'm saying? She turned different. So anyway, we find out, man, and Vatic ends up telling his story. I always wondered how Section 31 was able to develop the founder's virus that they've had in Deep Space Nine, where they was planning to commit just straight up genocide. And as they was talking about that, Picard was like, "Yo, we gave you the cure." And Vatic was like, "No, man, no, it was snuck to us through Odo," and that was true. Bashir helped them do that. Even Cisco was like, "Nah, man, we ain't finna give them a cure. Yeah, it was messed up that it was developed, but this award, dude, we losing." And it's cool how Vatic explains, like, man, we was doing honorable warfare. You guys went to biological. And one of the things about even today's military standards is we have what's called NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical. All right. And they're limited and outright banned in a lot of instances by the Geneva Convention. And Vatic talked about how it was her and like 8 or 9 or something like that, other of her subjects that went through a torturous experiment process while they was in prison on the Daystrom Institute. And when you think about, say, what Odo went through when they didn't realize that he was a sentient life form, what he went through. But, once they found out he was sentient, the doctor stopped. These doctors knew what these people, what the founders were, and they were trying to turn them and use them in a way, where they would serve Section 31, man, and be operatives for Section 31. And man, they was just getting burned, getting electrocuted, all kinds of things getting injected into them, man. It was just straight torture, all while this lady was whistling. And the form that Vatic ends up taking is the form of the lady who tortured her. And that harkens back to the same thing Odo did. Odo took the basic form of the Bajorian guy who was experimenting on him at first and ends up being his basically, father figure. And it goes into one of the things also, man, that everybody, just like Lord was saying, survival. Everybody just wants survival. Lord knows that he's trapped inside this body, this one android body with Data, and he don't want to lose what he is, just like Data don't want to lose what he is. But I understand why Soon is trying to make them complete. And that's what I mean when I say it harkens back to that Kirk episode where you need the good side and the bad side to make a completely real human, because it's these odds and how we deal with these odds that make us, these inner struggles that make us human, the human condition. So the experiment that these changes that Vatican and everything was part of was called Project Proteus or something like that. And man, like I said, it made you feel sympathy for the for the changelings. You already felt, if you watched Deep Space Nine, you already had a semblance of sympathy for the founders, because as Trekkies we know that genocide is not something that the Federation or Starfleet, man, like, but Section 31 is. Section 31, basically their guideline is, look, Starfleet is for all that good stuff and everything like that, but we know that there's people like the Orion Syndicate. We know there's people like the Founders. We know that there's organizations that don't do things or hold these values. And if we try to stick to these values, we are destroyed. So even in that instance, is the evil that Section 31 does and the good that Starfleet does, but as a whole, would you consider the Federation an evil entity or a good entity? So we end this wondering, who Jack is. Vatican ends up escaping, taking over the bridge, beating up, Captain Ramsey, I believe his name is. Now, look, let me tell you, if you shooting people in the head, that's normal people. Oh yeah, fine. By all means, step over them and continue on with your assault. But changelings, that thing that's up there isn't an actual head. That's not their brain center. They're changelings. You know what I mean? So if you poke them in the eye, you're not really putting out their eye like you would do a normal person. So you're gonna need to put those phasers on disintegrate. I'm really wondering why they don't put phasers on disintegrate. Like like that whole regular kill set, and that just ain't gonna cut it. Captain Shaw, yeah, that's his name, not Captain Ramsey. I'm tripping. Captain Shaw need to really learn stuff like that. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please leave comments. So, episode 7 was still a great, strong one. This season, still a banger. So again, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and say the whales. You guys be cool.